Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Greg. Today I'm going to show you how I made this blueberry breakfast sausage. What I have here is 1 kilo of pork trimmings. Not the best butcher, so I get a bit of this and it's all right. Yeah, we're just around 31 degrees. That's cold enough to grind. Could be a little colder, would be okay, but below 32 is good. It's more or less solid. Anyway, I will stick it in the freezer for a minute while I get my grinder ready. See, I've had this in the freezer. I usually would have this in the freezer too, but my freezer is so full right now. Just got a really large pig from my friend's farm. You can see what I got here. I'm using my medium grinder plate, which for me is a 7mm. I don't know if you can really see in there, but I just cleaned this up. I resurfaced this all this morning. Resurfaced my blade. It's not really sharpening it, really. You're just flattening that, making that point right there completely flat. That's how I'll get the best grind, best cleanest grind. And I want to make sure to get that nice and tight so the meat doesn't try to leak out the side, forces it all through. What I have here is a 1 kilogram bag of pork trim. When I was butchering that pig, I put all my trim. I just have little pieces from cleaning off the bones, cleaning up the edges of the bigger pieces. And I think this is somewhere in the 25 to 30% fat range. So that's going to work for me. Pork butt is perfect. That's usually 25 to 30% fat. Or you could use a lean piece. Use 70% lean and 30%, 25 to 30% back fat. Or you could use like 40 to 50% lean pork and 50 to 60% pork belly, and that's going to give you 25 to 30%. Or you could just go buy ground pork as long as it has a good enough fat content. I'm just going to feed these pieces in there and let the grinder do its work. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to take a little bit of that, run that back through. That'll push out any extra that's left. While my meat's chilling out in the freezer, I'm going to mix up some spices. I'm going to start with the ones that need ground. It's going to be just a tiny little bit of cinnamon. I'm using cinnamon sticks, so just going to put that into my grinder. Take some black peppercorns, and I'm also going to put those in my grinder. Going to weigh up my salt. It's a breakfast sausage, so some sage. I'm also going to put in a little bit of thyme. Add a little bit of ginger. I think that'll go great with blueberries. Small amount of nutmeg. A little bit of cardamom, because I think cardamom is going to go really good with the ginger and the blueberries. And again, just a little bit. Not making a very big batch today. Just a little bit of red pepper flake. Not going to add very much heat, because it's just a small amount. But I think that's going to add a nice little touch also. I'll be using brown sugar and maple syrup, but feel free to just use one or the other if you would like. That would be just fine too. Or if you don't want to add any, you don't really need sugar, but being that it's a blueberry breakfast sausage, I'm going for a sweet sausage more than a savory one. And there's my black pepper and cinnamon. I usually toast those things up. No real good reason for not toasting them up today other than I'm feeling a little lazy. Giving them a little toast would be a nice touch also. It'll help wake them up. No, that's it for my dry spices. Get my other scale out now. So I'm going to measure out just a little bit of water. And the same thing, I'm going to go with a little bit of maple syrup. And if you didn't know, 1 milliliter of water is basically a gram. Don't know how that is with syrup because syrup is quite a bit denser. Seems like it would be heavier. Milliliters are a volumetric. Grams are a weight. The smaller amount, I think it's going to be close enough. So I'm going to stick this in the freezer to just get nice and cold before I want to use it. And one last thing, it's blueberry sausage. Going to need blueberries. I'll be using dehydrated blueberries for my blueberry breakfast sausage. And my complete amounts will be in the description below. All right, that's still plenty cold. 33 degrees. Going to add my salt and spices. I'm going to add my ice water and maple syrup. Hopefully these chunks aren't too big and they'll melt as I mix. Might have left it in there a minute longer than I needed to. I'm going to start mixing before I add the blueberries. And you absolutely could do this in a stand mixer and a KitchenAid. And this is a tiny little 1 kilo batch because this is kind of an experiment. I've had the blueberry sausage before, but I don't know if they use dehydrated blueberries or just frozen blueberries. Coming together pretty quick. Shouldn't take too long. It's really just, like I said, a tiny little 1 kilo batch. While I'm getting some protein extraction, sticking together into a ball, starting to get a little bit of those strands. Before we get too much extraction, I want to add these blueberries. Might be a little heavy on the blueberry. Like I said, it's an experiment. But I've seen the recipes with frozen blueberries. And my thinking is that these dehydrated ones will absorb some moisture, especially if I let this sausages sit overnight. So they won't be hard, but I'm thinking the frozen ones seem like they would bleed out from the berry and into the sausage. It's kind of what the pictures looked like when I saw those recipes. I'm thinking that these blueberries are going to stay, you know, as individual blueberries without bleeding into it as much. I mean, a little bit. Blueberries tend to do that. If you clean a bunch of blueberries, your hands ends up blue. But kind of lifting the bowl up, sticking to my hand pretty well. If you get a nice close-up view, come on camera, focus. You can see we have some strands coming off of here. Starting to get a little stringy-like and furry-like. I'm going to say that's pretty well mixed. You can get a pretty good look at that protein extraction. You can see definitely see the hairs coming off of it here and there. It's a good sign. What I'm going to do now is put it in my little stuffer. I'm going to try to push that in as good as I can. Make sure there's no air stuck in there. Still pretty cold. Not as critical for stuffing as it is for mixing and especially grinding. That said, if you use a meat grinder with the stuffing attachment, it does create friction and heat. You're not going to make as good a sausage as you will if you have one of these. Just because that friction it creates can tend to want to smear your fat. Well, no one wants smeared fat. If you smear your fat, it can cause fat layer between your protein and your casing. That can definitely affect how good a bind you get on your sausage. What I'm using here are sheep casings. These are 22, 24. Can be very challenging to find the end on these. See, it looks like the end, but actually I think it's on the other side. And by the time you flip it over, it just buggers it all up again. But eventually, you get to that open piece. There it is. A little small to get 2 fingers in, but if you can get a finger in and get a little water in there, that's helpful. And always lube up your horn. And just try to get one edge around, bring the whole thing around. Tie a little knot. Prick a couple holes in there. And then I'm just going to start stuffing. I want to make sure not to overstuff these because these sheep casings, they break pretty easy. And I'm just going for pretty little lengths. So I'm trying it the way I've seen Bradley Robinson do them, just alternate each one. These are tiny. I probably don't need to go that tiny. That's a little ridiculous. You can just twist them as they come off the horn. I usually like to do the coil method, but I also get a fair amount of bursts. So especially with these sheep casings. See, this one I think's away, but see, I'm always forgetting which direction I'm supposed to go. I'm not sure I can get another one. Yeah, I don't think I can get another one still. So anyway, that's the end. That's a tiny little casing because that's just what I had left over last time I made some with these, and I just resalted them, dried them out. Figure might as well use them. Waste not, want not. Sometimes it's good to re-lube it. Can't just lube it when you get started. Sometimes you gotta add some lube in the middle. It's just how it is. Punch a hole. Off we go. Might have had a blueberry blockage. It's hard to tell because sometimes pressure is just really hard with this small horn. But I think I might have a blueberry blockage because it doesn't seem to want to come off there. Major problem, it's leaking out past my gasket here. This is no good. What's going on? Yep. Oh, yeah, I got too many blueberries all consolidated right at the beginning of that horn. This might be a tricky one. This might be a better one for bigger size casings. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, this needs to be in a bigger casing because I just keep running into these blockages. God damn it. Took my meat back out of the stuffer. Gonna put it in my refrigerator. I have a larger size casing that I'm rehydrating. I like to give that at least a few hours. Overnight really gives you the best snap. Well, maybe I will leave it overnight. Of course, could make a patty. I guess that's why we call it an experiment. Okay, well, it's the next day. I've got my meat stuffed in here. Got my bigger horn on. Oops. Tapered side down. Sometimes I like to lube up that little piece of rubber, whatever material it is. I'm going to try again with some 2932 hog casings. Got these rehydrating yesterday. Put my sausage batter into the fridge overnight. So all those flavors have had a chance to get to know one another. Yep, the batter is tightened up quite a bit. It's a little harder to push through even with this bigger horn. Uh-oh, got a knot. Knots are like impossible to deal with the sheep casing, but I can probably get it with this hog casing. Yep, there it goes. I got it. Okay, sliding easy. Tie a knot. Get my pricker because I washed that yesterday too. So I will say, I'm a little sad about this because I really wanted breakfast sausages out of these blueberry ones. That said, just didn't work out that way. And it makes sense why most of the recipes I saw for blueberry sausages were in the form of patties. Very few of them were actually in casings. The blueberry sausages I've seen at the sausage store, believe it or not, there's a place that makes their own sausage and they make a bunch of them right here in Oregon. They have a blueberry sausage, but it is in a bigger casing. It's not in the small sheep casing. So it's all making sense. It's a little sad I had to take so much extra time, given that it's such a small batch. So I'm going to try to pinch these into just about a 6-inch length. And again, there's two ways to do this. You can either pinch it and twist it towards you. 3 to 4 twists. Go up the same amount. Twist it away from you. And then just alternate. The next one coming towards you. But here's what I like to do. Instead of twisting that towards me, I'm going to go up to the next one. About 6 inches. Pinch. And I'm just going to twist that one away from me. And I'll go up about 6 inches. Pinch it. And instead of coming towards me, I'm going to go to the next one, which in this case is my last one. But I'm going to twist that just away from me. And this way, I'm just always going one direction. Don't forget which way I'm going. Got a lot of air in this last one. That'll be okay. Still want to twist it till it's nice and tight. And then I'll just burst its bubble. I'm good at bursting bubbles. Ask any of my ex-girlfriends. So anywhere I see an obvious air pocket, gonna put a hole, flip it over. Same thing over here. I'll get a few holes here and there. Not too crazy, but it does actually help the casing adhere to the meat. And you don't really lose any grease out of it. If you do, it's really negligible. Wow, look at those. Those are some pretty looking sausages with the blue in there. I'm liking that actually. If this sausage had gone as planned, we'd put it in a rack like this overnight in the refrigerator to let those flavors get to know one another and to let the casing dry out, and especially these little places in between the casings. But since it's already been in the fridge overnight, these flavors know each other real well already. Just need to dry out the casings. What I'm gonna do is put them on this rack, just like I would if I was putting them in the fridge overnight. I'm going to set a fan in front of it. And I'm just going to leave them in front of a fan for about a half hour, maybe an hour. You know, there's no curing salt in here, so I don't want to leave them out too long. And that's going to dry the casing out a bit. That'll give these a snappier bite. After about an hour of being in front of the fan, these have dried out a little bit. They're definitely darkened a bit. Don't really want to leave them out much more than an hour. They have no curing salt, so want to get them cooked or in the fridge. While I'm at it, I'll cut these ones up too. Yeah, I'm sad they didn't work out. I'm going to cook a couple of these up as well as a patty. Give them a taste test. Well, these little breakfast sausages that I was kind of going for, I don't think they're really going to work out. I think a patty is probably the best way to go for a breakfast sausage. These big ones are looking pretty nice. Very plump, very juicy. I think that's going to be a big sausage for one that's, you know, also sweet. We'll get a look at one of these patties first. Definitely catch the notes of the cinnamon, cinnamon, cardamom, of course, the blueberries. And try the breakfast sausage links because that was what I was hoping for. Oh my God, did you hear the snap on that thing? Impressive. Yeah, that would be perfect with your pancakes or your waffles, French toast. These would be great on the side. That blueberry, maple. I'm okay with that patty though. It's pretty good too. So Taylor's Sausage has a blueberry sausage and it's this bigger size. And I think I might know why now that I've tried to make a breakfast size one. Since I did make one of these size ones, might as well get the center cut view. I'm sure it looks beautiful. All right. Let's get another cross-section look because it is such a pretty looking sausage. Well, if you want a sweet sausage and you like blueberries, it's a pretty good sausage. Usually I'm more of a savory. Food in general, I'm not really a sweets kind of guy. I'd usually rather have like eggs and potatoes than pancakes. I like the maple blueberry. I like the hints of cinnamon, and the hints of cinnamon and cardamom almost give you a clove taste, but there's no cloves in there. Give it a try. Hopefully I saved you the hassle of trying to put it in a small casing. If you figure out the secret of how to do that, please let me know in the comments, because I'd really love to make this into those small links. If you like this content, please give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel. Make sure you're putting love into your food. Peace.